Not a good Tuesday slate for me. I didn't do well on the. I'm sorry, Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. Didn't do well on the short slate yesterday, but one of those things that you take some shots and you don't get the right guys, and it sort of how it goes. How did you do, Sheets? And then what do you think of this impossible?
I lost a little. I lost a little, not that bad. I actually had to sweat the showdown for like a little while, but showdown's tough. I'll just leave it at that. And tonight, so first of all, we're going to do an NFL preview after this as well. Tomorrow, Thursday showdown slate. I'll do MMA tomorrow and all this stuff. Bobby's on the recovery mode, but he'll be. I think that by Sunday morning he'll probably be in full.
Yeah,
He'll probably have no minutes limit on Sunday, so he'll be able to go the full 60 at 11 o'clock on Sunday, I think. So we have a little break from the two gamers, and they're going straight into this 11 gamer with, I guess, all the teams that didn't make the semifinals, I suppose. Yeah. So yeah, I kind of into this a little bit. I guess when the semifinals come, we'll be back to showdown mode, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm unfortunately, or fortunate, whatever, I'm going to be out this evening. So what that means is a couple of things. Number one, I'm not going to be able to update projections. Number two, I'm not going to be able to play that much. I'll play one lineup. But the good news is that even if I updated anything by 6 o'clock, there's going to be so many changes, I think.
Yeah.
Like after lock even, that it's one of those where you gotta hunker down and stay at home all night, honestly.
Yeah.
If you want to be optimal. But I got something for you guys. Some terrible play, like the Tuttle terrible takes. I got a Sheets terrible take that we'll talk about when the time is right. But I guess that's pretty much all I have as a preview.
Yeah, no, it's going to be. My look was that you have all these guys out. No Grant and Ayton for Portland, so there's going to be value there. But then Simons is back, supposed to be back, so it's kind of tricky. But the later games, I think definitely offer some stuff, and you're going to see a lot of guys project really well today. My take is that this would be a very high scoring slate. Is just my first guess.
I definitely think that's the case.
Yeah.
Well, let me just do that thing with the subscriber thing. I got to show you how to do this, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. Just go into YouTube Studio and you click on the live thing, and then you'll see when just play with it one time. You'll see it takes 2 seconds.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Okay. No problem. So let me share my screen, and we will get going.
All right. First up, you have this is the Cleveland game.
Yeah. So you kind of set the stage right off the bat in that there's like a late game where there's like a lot of value. So in general, you probably want to avoid all else being equal, like the earlier games if you can. But obviously, some things are really, really good play. It's kind of hard to ignore. From this game, and even with that said, I still think that Jared Allen is a good play at 6,700. I don't know. Again, it's a center, so it's the same conversation every day. Like I'm looking at my centers, and like 10 of the top 15 plays, like 9 of them are centers. That's the way the algorithm works, as you told me literally the first day I started playing DFS, and even more so like nowadays it seems like. So Jared Allen's a good play, but because it's early, because for probably better center plays, because some of the value is going to be in center. Also, probably going to be off of this game. I guess Garland's not the worst, but aside from that, it's probably a game to avoid, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a great one for me. I think the only guys who popped up at all were Garland and Allen. And if you want to take a shot on Donovan Mitchell, I don't think there's anything wrong with it at 9,100. But nobody who stands out as being like a priority right yet for me. But I do think Jared Allen is totally reasonable at 6,700, and so is Garland. But a lot of good plays to get through. So can move on.
Well, how about Memphis, Detroit? I'm looking at that, and okay, so we got something here. So Bojan Bogdanovic came back, and he got a decent amount of minutes. Something like, forgot what it was, but it was enough where we have to worry about it. It's like 26 minutes, something like that. Let me just see. It was. He's shooting guard now. Okay, that's funny.
That's a
So
little
20,
weird.
so 27 minutes for him, plus maybe upside at 5,100. I imagine he's going to be, of the earlier games, he's probably going to be pretty popular. I'd have to say. As a matter of fact, my early ownership projections have him over 20%.
Mhm.
And it certainly seems reasonable to me. I'm still just kind of interested to know why he's. I guess that's technically what his position is, but I'm used to kind of him being a power forward for some reason. Even though he never really was a power forward.
Kind of was playing it for them last year, but then this year they have all these big bodies like Isaiah Stewart
Right.
and Jalen Duran. It's kind of weird, and I don't know what you really call him. He's definitely somewhere between a 2 and a 4.
But he's shooting guard only, which is like
I know, it's so strange.
pretty restrictive. So maybe that keeps the ownership down. I guess I don't know, but he looks like a good play. Then all these other Memphis guys, they just look pretty average today. I guess Desmond Bane would be my favorite, but for me, it's just basically Bojan or maybe obviously Jalen Duran's always good, but as are all the other centers.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that we're on the same page here. I would play probably just Bojan in this game. I'm not as excited about the Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson plays tonight. If I had to pick one, I think Jaren Jackson actually for the matchup. I think Derrick Rose is reasonable as to take a shot on, but nobody that exciting. I would just say that just pointing out if you're going to play the early game guys and you don't want the chalk of Jared Allen or the chalky-ish Jared Allen, I think that Jalen Duran is totally reasonable as a pivot. But there's a million centers, as you pointed out. So really, it's probably just going to end up being maybe some Bogdanovich for me from this game.
Philly at Washington. Philly's like a 9 or 10 point favorite on the road in Washington. You have a couple of questionable tags that are worth mentioning. You have Jordan Poole was listed as questionable, and you also have DeAnthony. Oh, DeAnthony Melton is now probable, so he's in. But Jordan Poole being questionable, that matters because he takes a lot of shots, and so those shots will go somewhere. First of all, I think Kispert will probably show up as a decent value if Poole's out. It's not exactly the guy I usually like to play, but and Tyus Jones will probably get some uppage in his numbers. But Kuzma, I guess, it would be the guy that benefits the most. I mean, he shoots a lot anyway. And if you take Poole away, I mean, Kuzma in a game that they're obviously going to need him to score 40 real life points, maybe, you know what I mean, to be in this game. So I think Kuzma would be the beneficiary. And I think probably like Kuzma anyway. On the Philly side, I mean, Embiid is obviously going to look like an amazing play here. If you can get to him, like anything else, but I think you can. I mean, with the value that's out there, I think that you can play him. Listen, there's always blowout risk, but first of all, we've seen him put up 65 points in 3 quarters in blowouts, and I don't think there's a lot of answer for him. So as I say that, I think that maybe if that's the case, maybe Gafford for Washington gets more minutes, just try to guard him. So maybe up Gafford a little bit. But listen, the fun play on the board is Oubre back tonight. I don't know what kind of minutes if there's a minutes limit, whatever, but dude, he's the type of guy, man, going back to Washington in a game they're probably going to win anyway. They won't really care what he does. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He might try to do some funny business in this game, going back to Washington. So that's a question. Listen, obviously I don't want to play him if I think there's going to be a minutes limit of any kind, but seems like a fun game that if he's healthy, that if they're up by 15, 20, they'll leave him in. I don't know. So Oubre would be kind of like the stupid play to make. But Embiid looks really, really strong, and Kuzma would be my play from the Washington side. But if Poole's out, then we got to talk about the other guards and stuff.
For sure, yeah. I think this is I don't care the blowout risk. I'll just embrace it. They're playing in Washington. Embiid last time he faced these guys put up 75, and it was a blowout. Didn't even get his last rotation, so he would have on his way to 90 probably. I think playing the idea of playing one of Maxey or Embiid is not a bad idea. But I don't mind your idea about the Oubre thing. I don't know if they'll give him the minutes. My worry is that they have a totally different team than last time he was playing for them. Nicholas Batum, Robert Covington, Patrick Beverley, all these guys getting minutes who weren't really before. Even Marcus Morris to some extent. So I don't know if he's going to has as much minute upside. But I think he's projected to play 20, 23, 24. There's probably enough upside on that. I think it's probably the wrong slate for me to do it, but I don't mind the thinking behind it. And I did consider the Oubre thing. But I have Embiid and Maxey. Just playing one of them, I have Embiid as the more of the priority. Like you said, though, center's loaded, so maybe you want to go different and play Maxey. And I totally agree with the Gafford idea. There is no, like, you'd expect Gafford to certainly get more minutes here today. They don't really have another easy matchup for another guy that can really match up with Embiid. I'm just taking a quick look in terms of Embiid's. Yeah, Gafford played 30 minutes and put up 33 fantasy points the last time these guys played. 30 minutes is tied for his season high. Oh, no, he had one 34-minute game against Charlotte the other day. I forgot about that. But so basically as many minutes as he gets has been in this Philly game. And I remember the same thing happening last year. So I definitely don't mind Gafford, but as we mentioned, tons of center options today. All right. Miami, Toronto. And I'll just, while Kenny's asking in the chat, this Kenny G's asking about this do-up wreath. He's an Australian basketball player who they've been playing against this year. We'll get into that game a little bit later. I'll talk a little more Portland later on. But for now, we can go ahead to Miami, Toronto.
Who is he talking about?
Do-up wreath.
We'll definitely get there.
Yeah.
Miami, Toronto. All right. So let's talk about this for a second. We'll talk about some more centers. You have let me wait, where's that? Hang on a minute. I gotta shut that down. Yeah, hold on. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, with Bam out, I mean, I guess they started Orlando Robinson a couple of times, and he's played 26, 28, 30 minutes in those situations. I mean, give me 30 minutes at, I don't know, he's more expensive. He was $3K. Than 4,300, but 5K. Now, listen, good for DraftKings at least.
Yeah,
they can make it a decision. But yeah, so 5K for Orlando Robinson. Let's add him to the list of centers. Aside from that, I don't really have too much here. You like anything in this game?
No, it's not. It's not my favorite game. I think OG's price is interesting enough to play him. I think that's something that I could be talked into. Nothing that stands out as being a really strong play for me in this one, even without Bam. So I probably I'd say OG. And I mean, look, Scotty Barnes, I always point out as an upside, but this is not a good matchup, and probably going to stay away from Barnes and Siakam tonight. But I don't think it's like a bad idea to play them. I just think that there's other plays I like better.
Then we get Brooklyn at Atlanta. I mean,
of course,
Michael Bridges had I think something like 30 real life points in the first half.
He had 26 in the first quarter.
It was something incredible.
Yeah.
En route to 42 real life points and 60 fantasy points. Listen, the Atlanta matchup has become pretty freaking juicy. So for me, I mean, there's him, but there's also your man. I mean, the Cam Thomas is now back in full regalia. You know, he had played 25 minutes in his first game back, but then he went right in for 38 minutes. And I'll tell you, man, 38 minutes of this dude against Atlanta, he's eligible for whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So you got to include him. And listen, if you're going to do that, Dinwiddie seems like expensive, but again, this matchup it's very Harlem Globetrotter. You know what I mean? So I think you're probably supposed to play something from the Nets here. Any of those three guys. Listen, the Dinwiddie place feels like the least sexy play, whatever. Either Thomas or Bridges certainly makes sense to me. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to take the standard and say that Thomas will be my favorite one. That's pretty much all I have. I didn't really get so much on the Atlanta side. Yeah,
it's pretty interesting. These teams just played. It was 147, 145 was the final. Bridges had 75 fantasy points, I think, in that one. He also had 45 real life points in that game too. And no one's going to play him tonight, so I think that he's actually a really interesting tournament play. With Cam Thomas back, maybe you could say that hurts his upside, but he did just score 42 real life points with the Cam Thomas there. So I think I think I would rank it probably Thomas, Bridges, Claxton in that order. But I think they're all totally in play. And Claxton is in another center, obviously, but another, pivot off of a more chalky Jared Allen in a great matchup. On the Atlanta side, it's harder to get to stuff, but I'd kind of like to force a little bit in. Trae Young had a monster game in this matchup the last time they played. It should be a fantasy gold mine. It's just the pricing is sort of caught up. But I like the idea of maybe getting to some Trae or DeJounte if I'm not going to be where I'm not playing Embiid. And as always, you can play the center roulette with Atlanta in a premium matchup. Maybe give a little bit higher of an edge to Capella here tonight than usual. He's sort of been trending the right way. Played 30 minutes in the last game, put up 45 fantasy points. Been much better. I just have this game as noted to that I want to stack it. I don't know who I'm playing yet from it, but right now Cam Thomas, Mikal Bridges, and I think that Trey is playable at 10-3 in this specific matchup. So I do think I want to try and go out of my way to get some from this game.
So San Antonio, this Minnesota. The first thing I was looking at is Wembanyama here, and I was thinking that this might be not the greatest matchup for him. I mean, Gobert's got a lot of experience, and whatever it is. But then I went back. I looked. We've already had this game, and against Minnesota and the aforementioned Gobert, he had 29 real life points, like en route to 56 fantasy points in 35 million minutes or something like that. So that's not exactly the best logic. What is good logic, I think, is that San Antonio is again Harlem Globetrotters. They don't play a lot of defense, and you get what's his name back. I imagine Anthony Edwards is back. If he is, this sounds good to me. Aside from him, not much really. So for me, it would be like Edwards. He's not going to even project to be that great, but I do like Edwards. Wembanyama feels like I don't want to play him, but I don't know. I mean, why do I not want 50 points? I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not. It's a little weird too. Like with he did when they played this matchup before. I talked about it a little bit because his idol has always been Rudy Gobert and like.
I know that. Okay.
Yeah, the French thing. I mean, that's sort of the way. I mean, like maybe not his idol, but that's sort of like the way that it's been pitched. And Rudy Gobert sort of got the big brother thing with him. Right. But he came out in the last, when they played the first time, and he put up 56 in that game on the road in Minnesota with all the blowout risks. Doesn't feel like a great spot. It's really hard to picture San Antonio keeping this game all that close, but every now and then they do. They've been really bad. I think Edwards would be the most interest for me in this game, and then probably I'll just move on. I'm never going to argue with anybody playing Wembanyama. Like there's never going to be a time when he's under 10K where I'm just going to say, oh, it's a bad play. Never, just never going to happen. Okay, what do you got next, Charlotte?
I got Charlotte, Chicago, and I have a pretty reasonably priced DeMar DeRozan at 8K in this game. I also have Terry Rozier, given what he's been doing since LaMelo's been out, as a good 8K play in this game, and you can play them both. So that's pretty much all I have here is DeRozan and Rozier.
Yeah, I think it's weird. Everybody on Charlotte, I feel like I can make a case for, but I don't really. I think PJ Washington is probably the most interesting, just because he's affordable and they've been playing him 30+ minutes lately. He'll take some minutes from Mark Williams. He'll take some minutes from Bridges, or he'll play alongside Bridges too as the 5. There's a lot of things they can do with him flexibly. So I think he's okay, and I think that it's a terrible matchup for Rozier, but it is Rozier without. Without LaMelo, and for the unfortunately, I was on the wrong side of when to play and fade him, and you can see the last 2 games why you kind of want to have some pieces of him. He went completely nuts against Brooklyn, and then had a nice game against Minnesota too. So I don't mind the idea of getting to it, but nothing that stands out as a priority for me on the side.
Well, just as a 1F thing, but I mean, Mark Williams is questionable. And if he's out, and you get like Nick Richards starting at 3,700.
I don't think they would start Nick Richards. I think they would start PJ Washington like they did last time.
You think so? Okay.
I mean, they did last time, but they might, because you have a more traditional center matchup against Vooch, so maybe they would. Yeah. Both DeRozan and Vooch, I feel like should be in play, but I just didn't quite get to them. And I think Patrick Williams to some extent as well. So all of these guys I have like as decent plays, but nobody who quite makes a priority list for me. What do you got next?
I got Sengun playing. I mean,
oh yeah, nuts.
So Sengun's playing, and he's probably going to get 50. Is that enough? You know what I mean? Like there's some good center plays. You have Embiid who could get 80. You have centers from Portland who can get 30 at 3K or whatever. I won't get to that, you know. But you know, obviously he just does it every time he gets the minutes to do it, and it's hard to make any case against him if you want to know the truth. Right? I mean, like Oklahoma City, I really don't have too much. So for me, it's like I guess saying good or nothing. I guess.
Yeah, it's gonna the Giddy price is getting to the point where it's sort of tempting you to try and take him. Like there is a lot of stuff going on in that guy's life, and he's just not getting the minutes right now. So I don't think I'm going to do it tonight. I'm just throwing it out there. Like there probably will be a time where he smashes at this ridiculous price tag. But yeah, I'm not really getting to much on OKC, and I like the matchup, and I like the Şengün play quite a bit. But like you said, there's just a lot of good center options. So you know, how do you try to get him in? But I also think that 50 feels very like reasonable. I think there's upside on that. So maybe another way to do it if you're gonna do a different lineup construction, maybe play Van Vliet instead. I think it's a good matchup for Van Vliet as well. But and the same goes for Smith and Tate. But I probably end up just off this game a little bit. Should be a good real life game, but I'm probably going to end up on the outside looking in because everybody's just a little bit uncomfortably priced for me given some of the other plays in the slate.
Utah, Dallas, I have next. You have Kyrie Irving as questionable. You have Tim Hardaway is questionable. It looks like there's a lot of questionable characters, so to speak, on Dallas, so we got to watch for that. I will say that Kyrie, if he plays, is only 8,100 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
So that's something to note. So there's some other guys like that. You know, it's like I'm looking at FanDuel for a second. Like DeRozan 7,700. You know, on FanDuel, it's a couple of guys like that. Mm-hmm. Van Vliet, who you just mentioned before, he's 7,700 only on FanDuel. But,
yeah.
Luka at 11,700. I think I would just rather, especially if Kyrie is in. I think I would just rather play Embiid for that money. I guess I'm supposed to look at these Utah guys, but nothing's really showing up for me right now except Keontae George on FanDuel. I hate to keep harping on FanDuel, but I happen to have the sheet open.
Yeah,
Keontae George on FanDuel is like a full $1,000 cheaper over there.
Yeah.
So he looks pretty good. But on DraftKings, it looks like these guys are priced pretty fairly.
Yeah, I think George is playable, but I probably won't get there at 6,700. I think it's really close with the Luka thing. Maybe that's what you end up doing if you because there's so many plays at center. Maybe it actually makes Luka a little bit of a better play here. There is some definite blowout risk when you play Utah at home, but Dallas has been shaky at times. So I'm okay with maybe gambling a little bit and playing with Luka at 11-7 instead of the Embiid. I actually like Embiid a little bit better, but it's just, again, the position, the strength is so high for center today.
You want to dispense and bang out the Nugget game first before spending some time on this Portland thing? I don't really have too much in the Nugget game.
Sure.
Like Jokic, I have is obviously a play, but aside from that, I really don't have much of anything. I mean, Murray is questionable. I will say this. I mean, I imagine that Jokic at the end of the day is going to be lower owned than Embiid. But I just like the Embiid game a little bit better.
Are they really going to do it again, the Nuggets? Because I pointed it out last time with the line, and they sat everybody. You know what I mean? They poured
against the Clippers, right?
And it was against the Clippers, and the Clippers are favored in this game.
Oof.
That makes me definitely question whether Murray and Gordon are going to play. I don't know about Jokic, but he's not questionable, Jokic. But that is a weird thing to see. Now they're not coming off a back-to-back like last time, and Gordon is technically probable, but it is weird. I don't know why the Clippers are favored. I really don't.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll go right back to the same narrative before, by the way. Reggie Jackson going into the Clippers.
Yeah, it worked out great when the other guys were out.
Last time this happened, if my information is accurate, he played 40 minutes and scored 66 fantasy points.
Yeah, but Jokic, Murray, Gordon all didn't play.
Yeah, I get it.
It's a little. I mean, if Murray plays,
but if Murray's out, I mean that's something. I mean,
if Murray's out, yeah. I think you could talk yourself into with Murray out. If Murray's in,
no, I'm not playing if he's in. I'm just saying if in fact Murray was.
Yeah. Then yeah, absolutely. I think that.
And then you play him alongside of Bones Highland, and then we're done, right?
Long Island, right? Look, the Clippers are gonna in competitive matchups. Harden, Kawhi, I have no issue with playing these guys. They don't stand out to me as being like awesome plays, but I think that they're both totally reasonable. I would probably lean a little bit more on Kawhi if I was gonna take either of them. And then yeah, there is something a little bit interesting about the unowned Jokic side of this. Yeah, but I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get there realistically.
All right, why don't you start with the analysis of the Portland stuff?
I'll go with the Portland. Let me just refresh the things in case they've updated, because some of the early projections look a little bit.
Well, forget the projection for just a minute. You know what I mean? Like, so you have Ayton is out. You have Simons is officially questionable. So he's just because he came to practice. You know, Jeremy Grant is out. You know.
Yep.
So that's what you have. You still have the news that's left in this game is whether Simons plays and who starts, right?
Right.
What would your like gut reaction be like if you didn't see projections or whatever it is, like to what to do in this game?
Well, my gut reaction would be, can our old friend Moses Brown get a start in this one? I don't think it's going to happen, but I just thought I'd throw it out because he's a guy we've talked about a lot, and obviously, you know, he's actually done well for you, and you coached him or you coached against him. Anyway, no, I think that most likely the Reith thing makes sense in terms of how they've been playing, that they would start him. The only thing that's weird is that because you're playing a team that you don't have to necessarily play big against, maybe they just forego it and say, okay, well, maybe we'll start Jabari Walker. Maybe we'll just go all small and start Kamara at the 5 or something weird like that, because you're going against Dario Saric and Draymond Green. It's not like you need to have a ton of size here. So I think that there's the worrisome part about all this stuff to me is I don't think like Jabari Walker, they you know, he's been good per minute on the season, but he hasn't really gotten the minutes that he's projecting for tonight at all. And he's had some situations that were a lot of guys were out also. So he's projected to play 32 minutes. If there's any way he plays 32 minutes tonight, I think you have to play him.
We won't know that, right?
No, right. It's just I'm just saying. But that's why I would probably, I guess, splitting up some of your exposure between Reith and Walker is the natural first thing to do. And then Simons looking like he's going to be crazy high on. One thing it does is it gives you flexibility by playing these guys in case anybody else is out or anything messes with the starting lineup. At worst, maybe you end up having to play like a Kamara or something like that. But I think that you really want to try to play one of Walker or Reith. Simons would be the other one with the most interest for me from Portland. And the thin play would be Kamara, but I probably wouldn't get to that. And I didn't get to much on the Golden State side, except for I think Draymond is fine, but nothing that stands out really. How about you?
Okay, so listen, they're probably not going to announce starters or anything like that until late, and projections are going to update until late. But if Duop Reith starts at 3,200, he's going to project for probably 20 fantasy points at least. I currently have him at 59% ownership. I don't think he's going to be as chalky, only because I think people are not going to have it in them to wait. I think people are going to play other stuff, and he'll be less, but I still think he'll be really chalky if he starts. Jabari Walker is another one. He's showing up at 37% ownership, and he's like a guy that, you know, at least my gut instinct on him is people have seen him play. You know, he's been in games. He has played over 20 minutes. You know, and at 4,400, they'll make a case for him, and he'll be highly owned as well. There's obviously a degree of blowout risk, right, in this game as well. If Simons plays again, it's probably a good play at 5,500. You know, that's the best I can describe that. If he's out, I mean, Shaedon Sharpe, I don't know, like Brogdon probably, but you kind of hit the nail right on the head. Is that if you want to be really, really dumb, and if you're losing or whatever it is, I would take a shot with the Moses Brown, even if he doesn't start, just for no reason. You know, like if the Duop guy or whatever, God forbid he gets into foul trouble or only plays at 20 minutes or something like that, and all I need for Moses Brown is 15 minutes.
Right.
I mean, like, that's all I need. And listen, that's a lot to ask since I think he's played 0 minutes so far, right? But if there's going to be a time I mean, I don't think that I don't think they would play the Baji before him. They cut him and then they picked him up again. You know what I mean? Like I just think that Moses Brown would be the guy underneath Reith, and I think that's probably good enough for me at like a flat 3K. In Showdown for sure, but I'm not playing Showdown. I'm not really playing much of anything. But I'm telling you, like if you need to get some juice and you have Reith at 3,200 and there's no other way, it's going to be nasty to do because he's going to project like literally 20 points less, I think. That's not true. You know, like I'm looking I was looking at one place, they had him at like 15 fantasy points. Moses Brown.
Moses Brown, really?
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen. But if God forbid that the Reith, gets 2 fouls and it's 5 minutes into the game and you see like Moses Brown coming off the bench and you don't have him, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Here's my fear. I don't think that they have to play. Well, I don't think they have to play Reith or Moses Brown in this matchup.
Okay, that's fair enough. Like you were saying, like they don't really have their traditional big that you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
So you think you're good enough with just like Kamara and Walker?
I don't think I'm going to play Kamara. I think I would probably lean more towards Walker because he's a better fantasy producer.
Okay.
But I like the reason why I would play the Simons because I don't buy it's really weird coming off of a serious injury when you're a part of the future of the franchise to bet that the guy's going to play 30 minutes straight away. And that's what he's being projected at is 30 minutes. I don't know that that's accurate, but I like the idea of having some flexibility later in the day, especially because we still don't know about Jamal Murray yet. So if for me, I don't think I want to play Reith, Walker, and Simons all together, but I think playing 2 of those 3 and then maybe finding something else you like later in the day, just because I do think that there is some value to the late swapping side of things. At least, just even to have the starting lineup. Because one thing that's possible, Sheets, is that there's a chance Moses Brown starts. There really is. Like, it's not out of the question that they just throw it out there. It's also not out of the question they don't start Reith, Walker, or Brown, and they end up going really small with Thibault. That's totally.
Well, this guy's like a rookie, right? He's an older rookie, but
he's not really. Yeah, I mean, he's not really a guy though.
Yeah, but the Reith, I mean, they played him already. I think they're going to start.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. Most likely that would be the logical guess, I think. But
well, I will say this also that unless he plays like 24 minutes, I mean, he could play 24 minutes, I guess. I mean, he's gonna. I mean, what is he going to get? 20?
Right.
Isn't that good? I guess that's good.
It's good. I mean, you have a loaded center position.
Well, that's the thing. Is it good? What is it getting you? You know what I mean? Like,
so on the first build I was messing with, I didn't play Reith. I did have Walker in the lineup, but just for the reason we like the center position, it's already pretty strong. Yeah. Maybe that's a reasonable fade.
You play like Embiid and Sengun and get like 160. You know?
Yeah, right, exactly. And then you just get the 25 from everybody else.
I meant like 130, but whatever. You could do that.
Hey, it's possible they get 160. I'm sure it will happen at some point in there. These guys can both put up 80. Embiid's done it like 3 times already. All right. Anything else before we get out of here and go over to do a football show?
No, we're good. Again, I apologize. I'm not going to be around for later updates, but it's a perfect day for that because it doesn't matter because if I would put something up at 6 o'clock, I would be irrelevant too. So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well let's we'll get out of here. We're gonna come back with the first football first look, and I will be live with you guys at 6 Eastern for basketball. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the Discord and at 6